People called him the shadow behind iron bars. The dog no one dared approach. The one trainers refused to work with anymore. His name was Bruno. A towering black Belgian Malinois with eyes that looked like they carried storms. His bark could echo across the yard, and his sudden lunges had already injured several handlers. 2 of them never came back after the attack. Yet the men who owned him refused to let the story end that way. Daniel Cross had once been known across the country as a brilliant entrepreneur who built one of the fastest-growing logistics companies in the Midwest. But now he lived quietly on a large ranch outside Montana's wide valleys, surrounded more by animals than people. He rarely made public appearances. So when he announced a reward of $1 million to anyone who could calm Bruno and bring back the dog he once knew, the news spread everywhere. But those who knew Daniel understood something. This wasn't about money. On the corner of his desk sat a faded photograph, a young boy smiling beside a loyal dog. On the back of the photo were the words, "Danny and Scout, summer of 1972. Before we continue, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Dramaway, and I'd love to know, what country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments so we can see how far this story travels." Now, back to the story. Across the state, far from quiet ranches and open skies, life looked very different. In a crowded part of the city, a 13-year-old boy named Noah had learned how to survive on his own. No parents. Northwest safe place to sleep. Just abandoned buildings, empty stomachs, and long nights under flickering streetlights. He had learned how to stay unnoticed. Invisible. One afternoon, while sitting behind a grocery store dumpster searching for leftover food, he overheard 2 delivery drivers talking. "You hear about that ranch owner offering $1 million for someone to tame his crazy dog?" The other scoffed. "That animal's dangerous. No one's getting close to it." Noah stayed quiet, but something about the conversation lingered in his mind. A dog that everyone gave up on. A dog people were afraid of. He understood that feeling too well. Maybe he's not dangerous, Noah thought. Maybe he's just hurting. That night, wrapped in a thin blanket behind an abandoned bus station, Noah made a decision. He was going to find that ranch. The journey took nearly 3 days on foot and hitching rides from strangers who didn't ask questions. Dusty roads stretched endlessly until finally, he stood before tall wooden gates marked. A security guard noticed him immediately. "Kid, you shouldn't be here," the man said. "This isn't a place to wander into." Noah lifted his chin slightly. "I heard about Bruno. I want to try." The guard laughed at first, assuming the boy would leave soon. But Noah didn't. He waited outside the gate that day. And the next. And the next. By the 4th morning, the ranch workers had begun talking about the quiet kid who refused to give up. Eventually, a message came through the radio. "Bring him in." Daniel Cross walked out to meet him personally. He was older than Noah expected, tall, calm, with tired eyes that looked like they had seen too much silence. He studied the boy's worn jacket and dusty shoes. "So you're the one waiting at my gate," Daniel said. Noah nodded. "Why do you think you can do what trained professionals couldn't?" The boy paused before answering. "Because no one ever tried understanding him first." Daniel looked at him for a long moment. Then he finally said, "Be in the yard tomorrow morning at sunrise. One chance." Morning came with a pale orange sky stretching over the mountains. Bruno stood in the training enclosure, restrained by a heavy chain, muscles tense and alert. His low growl rolled across the ground like distant thunder. Several handlers watched from a safe distance. Noah stepped forward slowly. He didn't rush. He didn't speak loudly. He simply walked closer and then lowered himself onto the ground. Bruno barked sharply and lunged forward. Dust lifted into the air. But Noah didn't run. Minutes passed in silence except for the sound of breathing and the wind. Then something shifted. The barking stopped. Bruno watched him carefully, head slightly tilted. Noah slowly pulled a small piece of food from his pocket, half a sandwich he had saved from the day before, and placed it gently on the ground between them. The dog hesitated. Sniffed the air. Then, step by step, Bruno moved forward. Carefully. Until finally he took the food from the ground without aggression. The yard went completely silent. For the first time in months, the dog everyone feared stood calmly beside someone. Daniel Cross stepped forward, astonished. "No one has ever gotten that close," he said quietly. He looked at the boy. "The reward is yours." Noah shook his head. "I don't need the money." Daniel frowned slightly. "Then what do you want?" The boy's voice was soft but steady. "A place to stay, somewhere safe. Food every day. And I want to go to school." The ranch fell silent again. Daniel looked at him for a long time before slowly nodding. "You'll stay here," he said. "And we'll make sure you start school soon." That night, Noah slept in a warm bed for the first time in years. Outside his door, Bruno lay quietly on the porch, as if guarding the one person who finally saw him. Down the hallway, Daniel Cross sat alone in his study holding the old photograph. He looked at the picture of himself and Scout and whispered. He wasn't broken, he was just waiting. And from that day forward, the quiet ranch, the forgotten boy, and the feared dog became something none of them had expected. If this story touched your heart, don't scroll past it. Share it with someone who believes that kindness can reach even the most guarded hearts. Like this post if you believe loyalty still exists in this world. And drop a red heart in the comments if you've ever loved an animal like family.